everyone. So we're working on podcast prepping for working on our series of I Hate My Job that we are hoping to relaunch, launch the next season with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had two, we have some virtual assistants. We had two of our virtual assistants go on Reddit and go on Twitter and TikTok and get some get some feedback from some of you that may be listening. And it's just, I don't know, crazy. It's pretty wild. I've heard a lot of this, but still, reading it is crazy to me.
So we stopped it because we were as we were reading these things, we were reacting, right? And just naturally. And we're okay, we got to stop this because, maybe it'll be good content, but then also
we've been told we need to make reaction videos.
By our 9-year-old who watches reaction videos for Minecraft and stuff, but then also from our marketing people. So what a great opportunity here. So I don't know, you guys may hear this whole thing or you may only hear snippets and not even hear this introduction. But here we go.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen. You do your dance and I'll share my screen. All right.
This post reads, "The ABA field needs to do better, so much better. It is completely unacceptable that after going through new company onboarding and training, you are given a client. You learn all their programs and study their BIP intensively to be prepared. Great job doing that, by the way. 2 weeks go by and you're the one that has to ask them for a follow-up, only for them to never tell you that they gave your client to someone else. Ugh. They sent me an email 2 weeks ago that I'd be ready to start soon and they'd keep in touch. If I never sent that email, I would have just looked stupid playing the waiting game." Well, first of all, please communicate. We need to communicate to our staff, every step of the way, and communicate to our parents. I'm sure there was a million things going on that delayed this, that this person is not aware of, but communicate to them.
Yep.
I'm in an unfortunate position where I need to work soon, and now they just tell me the client I was promised the position is filled now. Nothing else after that to message. It's been almost a month since I had to do all this work, only to be told this. That's a lot. That can put a bad taste in your mouth for sure, no matter what industry you're in. If you're not going to be treated with more respect in the beginning, walk away from this job.
What's it going to be in 6 months? Yeah.
I've had my fair share of issues with the field, but I think the most frustrating is the fact that most companies genuinely don't care about their RBTs and toss them aside whenever. That really breaks my heart. For real. That anyone would feel that way. We are always front and center in the field. Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. You're on the front lines. We always say, we can't do it without you guys, without text.
Yep.
We are always front and center in the field, only to be underpaid, overworked, and treated like dirt. No one deserves to be treated like dirt at their job, no matter where they work and who they are. It's just. And
certainly, I guess you can make a case for certain jobs. Maybe you shouldn't, but maybe you could make that case, but not this job, right? This is such a critical role in an ABA company. You can't. Yeah, you can't.
See, we're in the business for helping people. We're in the business for helping to improve people's lives by changing behaviors that are not serving them, right?
Correct.
So we got to show up and
use the correct behaviors for your staff so that they can help your children, right? It's I don't. This seems so ironic in some way, right? And too, to text as well. I'm okay, if people are going to treat this run, but maybe even saying, hey, I value communication. Can I
I would like to be a part of this process, at least in the sense that, can you send me like an ongoing updates every 2 days or something like that, right? Not that it's this person's fault by any means, but like that is a right that you have, like, to be communicated with. Like, they don't have to tell you all the reasonings, but they can say, hey, oh yeah, this thing just didn't work out. Maybe that client bailed. Maybe this other
sounds like this person saying that it was given to somebody else.
And maybe that person, maybe there was a reason for that. Maybe there was a valid reason, but the fact that they're not communicating that's the piece
that's
here.
The problem, yes.
Because like, I could hear business owners right now. I could hear myself put on that hat of when I owned a clinic and be like, well, I mean, there's a lot that you might not know. There might have been, this person might have been more, had the skill set that matched this kid, or they maybe have already worked with us for 5 years and we needed to fill them in this spot. And since we've hired you, these other things happen.
Yep.
But you can communicate. You have to
Yes.
communicate. And if you've hired someone to start, you're going to lose them. Like, that's what we keep hearing people say, that like, we can't find techs. Well,
don't treat techs like that then.
So she goes on to say that like, she can't even pay the bills.
And I've had more downs than ups. When it change gonna start happening, and what petition or something can I sign for to do so? Yeah, I mean, these are things that, during the interview process, these would be issues that I would be considering when, how many clients am I going to have? How quickly are you going to respond to me? And if they're not following through with what they say that they're going to do, like you said, April, if they're doing this at the start, right, when, then, and I guess the good news in this situation, at least you didn't have any clients, right? It would have been tough if you would have got like an evening case, and then you were promised a morning and a midday, and they're like ghosting you. That's not cool. So I don't know. Good luck.
Business owners, business leaders, we have to communicate. We have to communicate to everyone within our team. All right.
Next one.
Unprofessional boss. Oh, I don't even want to read it. Hi. So I have a boss who has been lying about providing practicum hours. Has also called me into the office to tell me some BCBAs have complained behind my back, communicating that I seem arrogant and insubordinate, when all I did was tell them I didn't think it was right to hand me with child being highly aggressive behaviors without shadowing or training on initial session. It's valid. I haven't done anything to refuse or sabotage service.
Hold on.
It's valid. The valid part is that this tech has a right to be upset that she was handed a child with highly aggressive behaviors without the training,
but hold on. So shouldn't like a BCBA do an initial session for every kid anyway? Like regardless of the where they're at, like if it was highly aggressive, if this is a true thing, right? If they were highly aggressive, then it should be way more than just one session.
Well, unless there was a few minor exceptions, but like for us, we always we wouldn't start the case until the BCBA. I mean, the BCBA would already have done the assessment, and so sometimes the tech would go out with the BCBA to help with the assessment, But even if they weren't able to do that, we wouldn't start that first day unless it was like a tech in training to become a BCBA and they already had a certain level of experience, and maybe we already knew from the assessment that maybe it was a pretty.
But even if this was like an RBT, taking over a case from a different RBT, they would still, even that there would be shadowing. Right. So
So let me see. So boss has been lying about providing practicum hours. I don't even know. Yeah, that's a whole thing. But the thing is too, leaders, this isn't how to handle a situation. You don't come at you that's a great way to start a triangle, a gossip triangle or whatever you call it, right? Where the BCBAs have complained about you being arrogant and insubordinate, and that's not how you do it. No. That's not how you do it. That's not how you give feedback.
No.
When all I did was tell them I didn't think it was right to hand me a child. So I haven't done anything to refuse or sabotage services or behave insubordinately. Sounds like you and there again, with all of these that we're acting to, like, we only have the information we have here. But it sounds like you were saying, hey, I'm not comfortable here. I don't have the skill set for this. This is not an okay situation that I'm in right now. I got kind of physically hurt during that session. Kind of physically hurt? You got physically hurt during that session. And
if you all are listening, like BTs, like new BCBAs, whatever, like if there is like physical, if things get physical, then you need to fill out an incident report. And so I would be asking my supervisor, my clinical director,
I got hurt. How do I
fill out an
this?
incident report?
How do I document this? Yes. During that session, the boss basically acted like, if I couldn't handle his physical demands, then maybe I should think about whether or not I should do something else. Come on, people.
Well, there's your answer. See you. Bye-bye. Right?
She
like,
said
that's not
I would
cool.
be in the position of dealing with new behaviors as a BCBA. Yes, but as a BCBA, you'll have more of the skill set, and you'll have like other BCBAs and to communicate.
The thing is, I'm not a BCBA yet, so that isn't determined now. They also haven't been training me on it like they agreed to on hire.
We have to train our staff. We have to train our staff.
She called me in later to tell me that again. Other RBTs complained because I was telling them how to run their sessions. All I have done so far is help when asked, shadow trained when asked, or pass along the information a BCBA just shared with me. On occasion, I see a new RBT come in treating a kid like crap, with a bad tone and a bad attitude, and then I will interfere a little. Okay,
so in my experience over a bunch of years working with multiple companies, even before we started our own, when a tech is put in the position where they feel like that other people are, how am I trying to say? Like, if a tech is in that situation where they're the ones that's supposed to, that's giving the feedback, and they shouldn't even be in that situation in the first place, unless maybe they're like they have like a specific training level, or they're like a level 3 tech that's their job is to do some training or mentoring, but like they shouldn't be in that position.
And I'm just gonna push back though, dude. Like I wouldn't be giving feedback to another RBT. I would be talking to my supervisor and saying, hey, I saw this. How do we work with this BT? And maybe then your BCBA can give you some tips on what to do in that situation, or the BCBA should be taking care of it.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's not even the environment that
I
there's
understand.
For open communication.
I'm just pushing back that this, I'm just being honest here, like an RBT coming in, I don't know how long you've been there, I don't know how long they were there, and if you come in and say, hey, you're acting mean to that kid, they already have a bad attitude, it's certainly not going to help your case. No, it's not going to help your case. So that's just, again, this is again why it's really good to have like those soft skills, and it's not just about like, okay, do your 40 hours of training, right? It's how can we advocate for ourselves, advocate for the kids. Because you absolutely, like, if you're seeing something wrong, you have to say something, but there are different ways to do that. And you know what? It doesn't sound like, so far, we still got a whole paragraph in here too that we have to read, but it doesn't sound like this is a great working environment anyway.
Right. However, she keeps saying, is leaving me with this isolated feeling. Isolated, that is something we hear a lot from techs, especially in home, is like feeling isolated.
I guess she called me in later to tell me that some in the beginning, like some BCBAs have complained about you. Some people have complained about you. Who can I go to and just be myself without being paranoid that they are taking things the wrong way?
So like ultimately it just sounds like there is no environment for communication here. Like from the beginning, like whoever the BCBAs or the boss, whoever this boss is like creating a toxic work environment. Although I have suspicions about who might have an attitude, she seemed to be on the side of the pots. Or see, like it's like this is
just too much.
This is the drama.
Yes.
That yes, this kind of drama happens in every workplace. Yes, 100%. But like, we have the skills. We have the knowledge of the skills to prevent this from happening within our workplaces. So let's use it.
Furthermore, I was supposed to be hired at mid-level as an intern. So her general accusation that I shouldn't be advising, I don't know why you'd be mid-level or an intern.
Well, maybe she already had a lot of experience coming in or something. And we don't have enough, to become a BCBA. That's what sometimes they'll call RBT, interns, right? If they're working towards their BCBA.
So I shouldn't be advising a little where I can seem a little unintuitive.
So the whole situation has been demeaning. I hear you. I want to validate you that this, I could totally see why this would be demeaning. And that's the communication breakdowns that happen. This is what happens from them. And if you don't have that open door policy, and that's where those triple C conversations, what are the three sayings?
Continuous conversations.
Yeah, coaching conversations. C. Yeah. I just call it triple C, and I forget what it's called. But that's one thing that these are good at, because they're you can put them in at a regular frequency, and you can from the very get go you have these conversations, right? Ongoing conversations. But you also have to look at the values of the workplace, and sometimes if it's already a toxic situation, it's already a toxic situation. Yeah. But business leaders, communicate and treat people with kindness. And communication is kindness, even if it's direct feedback that may not be taken, that people might not want to hear. Do it in a kind, direct way.
Yeah, and I think the thing, and again, we don't know what went behind the scenes and what this owner or boss, whatever, said or did. But if you are in this situation, get the facts, right? We don't have to give names, but okay, you did this on this day, and this is against this policy, and this is how you change, right? So there is explicit information here. It's easy to understand, but because regardless of who said what, if there is understandable violations of policies or procedures, and how I improve and change, then maybe this communication breakdown doesn't happen in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. All right, next one. Seeking advice on managing caseload as a BCBA student. My company keeps asking me to take on additional clients and assessments. I would love your advice. I am currently a BCBA student with less than 2 months to go for supervision hours. I love my company and BCBA supervisor. However, I have repeatedly asked not to take on additional cases until after I pass my exam, to find time to study and potentially ask for a raise. Despite this, I have been repeatedly asked to take on clients. Recently, I was asked to do an assessment for a client, but not take on the case, which clearly I will be asked to keep the case. After agreeing to only the assessment, they reached out again, asking if I could also assess the brother. What should I do? I feel like I already made an exception the first time, but I really don't want to get stuck with 2 extra clients at my student rate. I have a 10-client caseload. What are your thoughts? Adding more clients is a new BCBA too much? First of all, it sounds like you know what your limits are. And, my thoughts of this, I don't know if it's going to be popular, but my thoughts of this is okay, you know your limits and you're saying no, but then you still took it. Sometimes we have to make hard decisions, and sometimes we just have to say no. And if they don't respect that, then is that where you want to continue your work? Yeah. Now, I get you only have 2 months until you're done. So maybe then you have to decide, okay, what am I going to be willing to do to stick this out so that I can get my BCBA? So then maybe I go somewhere else. But if it's, and that's the thing. And then speaking to the business leader, you're probably really, you need this you have this case that you need them to take. However, a lot of times we forget that we're all human. Mm-hmm. And if this person is really saying that they don't have the capacity to take on this other case, then maybe they don't. I don't know. What are you thinking?
My first thought is she's not a BCBA. So why does she have 10 cases? Why is she doing assessment solo? Are you billing insurance for these 10 cases as her, the supervisor, and you're billing under another supervisor? This is crazy to me. So I have lots of questions.
Some good questions.
I have lots of questions on this. So I don't understand. There's way too much that... Because she's saying she has 10 cases, so those aren't direct service, obviously, and they're asking her to do an assessment again. Who's
billing? Yeah, because RBTs can't do assessments and bill for it. And no payer. I don't care who your payer is.
You can't say, well, you do the assessment and I'll bill for it. That you can't do that. So I have lots of questions. This seems sketchy to me. This is weird. This is fraud. If this is being billed. Now maybe this is a different
school or something where they don't have a funding.
They have a different funding source, and maybe they're allowed. Maybe it's some weird Medicaid or self-funded, or it's self-pay, and I don't know. But I have lots of questions, and so no, you're not a BCBA, so you shouldn't have 10 cases. That's how I read it.
Not 10 cases that you're in charge of assessment and supervising. It'd be one thing to be
right, but
a tech shouldn't have 10 cases that they're working on unless they're That's
what I'm saying. 10 cases of direct service, right? It's not. She's saying I have 10 cases. I'm doing assessments. I don't understand.
Yeah. No. Lots of questions for that one.
Yeah. Look, we are not reading the chats on these things, so maybe there's additional information in the chats, but this seems fishy to me. All right.
Ethics question. Is it ethical for a company to ask the BCBA not to tell the clients they're leaving the company and basically them not show up and the clients have no idea until after they leave? No, it's not ethical. I can understand waiting to a specific time, especially if you already have someone lined up. But still, there should be switching over the case. The new BCBA should be learning from the current BCBA. There should be a lot of things that happen. Now, I know it doesn't always, but still, it doesn't always happen as clean as that because of timings. But still, there should be communication. I understand that the family's going to be upset. But there should still be communication.
Yeah, I guess when did she send this in? Is she the BCBA that's leaving?
Or he,
they, is the BCBA that's leaving? Or did you just hear about this and you heard that they're leaving and that BCBA told you? They told me I can't tell. Or so if somebody tells, with us, if they emailed us and say, there were a couple of examples where they were just leaving the state. Look, I'm leaving. I can give X amount of notice. And we would say, don't tell the clients yet because we want to plan. We want to plan.
But she says until the clients have no idea until after they leave.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't know where in the process, did this happen? And then she posted it and they told her not to say anything. And she's like, oh, or he or she is I don't know. Do I, where in the process was this? Was this day one? I sent my email and they told me not to say anything? Or is this day 14 or 30 and this is my last day and I don't want to feel that I'm just abandoning the clients. So I have questions on this. But they should have a plan, and you should let the clinical director or the admin team break the news to the parent and with a plan in place.
Yes.
And then they tell you, okay, we let them know. Now you can talk about it, but just be aware, of non-solicitation, non-disclosures, right? All that stuff, right?
Yep.
So that would be my opinion on this one.
All right. Okay, I can't wait to read this one. RBT 1099 or W-2 classification?
No.
Okay, business leaders, what's the answer before even reading this? Should we do 1099 or... I've been employed in the field for over 6 years, and these 6 years I have been a 1099 contractor. I'm assuming this is the RBT here. Last year, I worked for two companies, which both gave me a 1099. You can't do this, people. I've read plenty of Reddits and Google to know this is illegal. When bringing up my concerns to the company, they both replied it's okay and shouldn't be a problem. Have them reach out to us. We'll help them. In 6 years, I never got a report back from IRS or Medicaid stating that being a 1099 contractor is wrong. Has anyone successfully reported companies to the IRS for the misclassification? As of right now, I know of no companies who have gotten in trouble for these. We do. We know of some people. Currently, 90% of companies in South Florida practice this tactic.
I'd like to see the data on that.
Yeah. I hear it sounds like it might be a thing that you're hearing about a lot. Yeah. Are we completely alone, with our problems as RBTs do we not have a voice? We're trying to give you a voice. We really are.
Here's the thing. We did a talk with Dr. Bailey. You as an RBT have to bring these things up. If you feel you're in an unethical situation and it does not change, you have to advocate for yourself and the clients. And if it doesn't change, you leave. So if you're a 1099 contractor and you're listening to this, leave. Goodbye. I get that there's going to be consequences to this.
Well, you can first communicate. But then or communicate why you're leaving is because, be clear, is because you're a 1099 contractor and that's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not on this RBT to be the adult in the room. The board has sent out newsletters. There's an ethics board. There are many avenues. There are attorneys, right? This is not their company. They don't have responsibility. It's not their job. No, sorry, I don't buy it. And then if you're listening to this as a BCB owner and you're doing 1099s and you feel like this is offensive or inappropriate, what I'm telling people to do, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You're just wrong. You're wrong. You're doing it wrong. And
it's not okay.
It's not okay.
It's not even a matter of our perspective or our belief or whatever. No, it's wrong. Like the
they are not an independent contractor. They're not an independent contractor. Stop doing this. Period. End of story. Report them to the state.
And RBTs out there who are BTs, who behavior techs, whatever your job title is, you shouldn't be 1099.
Especially if you're an RBT. The board has come out and said you are not an independent. You have to follow your ethics. You are certified, right? You could potentially lose your RBT status because you're doing something like this. Again, this is not your problem. All right. They put you in this situation. It sucks that you're in this situation. And if there were more RBTs that were doing this and leaving, this would no longer be happening because it wouldn't be available. So
it's not your problem, but you have the ability to take action on your situation.
Because I can guarantee if they're, and again, come at me. I don't care. Feel free. Comment. Whatever. It's so frustrating.
Aggressive Steven.
It's just frustrating. It's too much. So if they're doing 1099 crap, then I guarantee there's other things that they're not following that they should be following, like HIPAA, like maintaining PHI. Like there's gonna be other things. This is the lowest benchmark of the lowest, right? Like if you're not doing this simple payroll stuff right, then what are the other things that are missing? Yeah, find another job. This is not the place for you. This should not be a question in 2024. Period.
All right, moving on. Good ABA companies. Getting so discouraged and disappointed in the ABA companies near me. I've worked for a handful and they are either so new the growing pains are unbearable, they underpay, or aren't even real. Okay.
Wonder what that means.
I don't know. The company
probably like all telehealth, like that.
Maybe.
Person we talked to the other day.
Yeah, maybe. The company I'm working for now pays very well. However, they are so new and I'm unable to get supervision. Okay, companies, I don't care how new you are. You have to supervise your staff. Sorry.
Ooh, somebody's getting spicy.
HIPAA laws are being broken left and right. See, you got to know what you're doing before you start a company. And communication is non-existent. Okay, if you guys have heard me say it once, you're going to hear me say a million times, communication. You have to communicate with your people. I've been looking around to work somewhere else, but I haven't found a single company that has a good reputation.
So again, RBT, I hate that you're in this situation, but you have to advocate for yourself and your clients. I'm not getting my supervision. I have to stop working until I get my supervision. I've gone X amount of days without seeing my supervisor. And then, again, companies may start to get upset at me, but like, this stuff has to stop. And again, I don't know the whole story, right? But if this is let's say that I'm going on the assumption that this is 100% accurate. Then keep those emails, right? Keep those emails to make sure that you can report this, because if you're not getting supervision, you shouldn't be seeing clients. As far as HIPAA, there are ways to report HIPAA. And one thing that I highly recommend any RBT listening to this is if you are interviewing with a company, ask them what their whistleblower policy is and how that works, and see if they have one. Because if they don't, what is their non-retaliation policy? Because if they don't, then I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, seriously. And even like HIPAA, like educate yourself too. Like, okay, I hear HIPAA laws are being broken left and right. What HIPAA laws?
Yes,
start
I mean,
journaling this, writing it down, keeping track of it.
It's a group of regulations. It's not necessarily a law, right? Mm-hmm. So like, it's not like, oh, you're going to jail for 10 years. Like it would be, maybe there are some violations. I don't know what those violations are, left and right? Like, I don't know if they're using text or, so that would be interesting to know more about. Mm-hmm. But the fact that there is no communication and there's no supervision, that sucks. And I think that this is the trend we see overall, that just, it has to stop, right? Yeah. And I know that there are various reasons why, because the BCBA that's probably on the case doesn't have the time, because they've got 15 cases and they're supervising their student, who also apparently gets 11 cases. So this is difficult. And so our goal, right, by these podcasts that we're doing, by our podcast, by our training, by our everything that we do, is to help BCBAs create ethical and sustainable companies. And I know there are a lot of them out there.
There are. And I will say communication, you say that communication is non-existent. There again, we only know what's in here in this snippet. No. But I just want to compel all RBTs out there that you have the right to communicate as well.
Yes.
It's not just on the employer. Yes. And I'm sure you've communicated, you've attempted numerous communications, but I'm just letting you guys know it's also your responsibility to communicate as well. I'm seeing this, I'm not getting this, but I need this. But I hear, like Steven said, sometimes you have limits, and so then you just have to report and leave. And then,
the other thing that you could do in this situation, if you like the place that you're working at, but you feel you're not getting, and you feel that you could possibly help, sit down with the owner and say, look, this is what I see. I want to make you better. Can you help me? Maybe you can get part-time admin person, and you can help lead this company in a different direction, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be peace out, I'm
combative.
Done. Yeah,
come to them in a helpful way. How can I help?
I believe in what you're doing. I can see that this is a good company, but it looks like you guys are all kind of stressed and overwhelmed. I would love to be able to take on different tasks, and maybe I can help with these certain things. And you may become a leader in this company.
I mean, especially if it's a new company,
yes.
Like I don't know how new a new company is, but
new company, it's tough being a new company. It is
hard, but that's why we also, we offer consultation, and we offer
policies for these things. Yes.
Well, and just, and all of our, everything that's out there, the free stuff, and we're not saying come buy our stuff, but all of our stuff that's out there is to help these new
because it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming.
And one of the things that we talk about to new owners is you have to have some basic things in place before you start hiring.
Yes, before you're taking on cases, before you start hiring. Yeah, it's really important because of these situations. And the situation this owner may find themselves in is that I didn't put these things in first, and now I'm trying to play catch up, but I have a full caseload. I've got a whole bunch of employees, and now they don't have the time or the resources to put these things in place. And so that's why it's tough to do that. But the BCBA business owners, if you find yourself in this situation, you have to find a mentor. You have to get an admin person that can help you put these things in place. If you have an RBT that is saying, hey, these things are happening. See if they will take some ownership of it and see if they can help you with it. Because obviously, if they're coming to you and saying, hey, these things are happening, then they want to help. They want to help. So that would be, good luck.
Good luck. Yes, let's move on.
All right. I'm going to zoom in.
Okay. My favorite is being understaffed by 6 RBTs for the current clients we have. And the company tries bringing in 4 more clients. Yeah, I mean, yeah. You could all, yeah. You can only, I have no words. Like you can't, techs and BCBAs can only provide quality services for a certain amount of
And just
clients.
like, I believe that this is part of the ethics, right? And we should probably pull up the ethics when we do these things. But, that you can't just take on clients to do assessments and not have space for them to do ongoing therapy. So again, this is where I would be pushing back, and like somebody's got to step up and be a leader, right? And if it's not the boss, there's a book I just saw, Being the Leader When You're Not the Boss. Read that book, right? Like, so somebody has to step up and do the right thing, and we can't just keep on saying, well, this is my company, it keeps on doing that either, right? There has to be some pushback saying, hey, I'm doing this because I love my clients and I want to do right by them. I want to make sure that I'm providing quality services, ethical services. And so, that sucks being understaffed by 6 RBTs and then also trying to get clients. But I will also say that the reason why they may be understaffed by 6 RBTs is because they're all evening cases and nobody wants to work evenings. So, and they're trying to bring on maybe 4 clients. Like, again, I don't know the whole situation, but maybe they're trying to bring on 4 morning clients so that they can staff these cases with full-time RBTs. I don't know. That's me looking at it from best case scenario.
Yeah.
Moving on.
All right. The training for the company is ultimately the source of the mistreatment of autistic people. I have previously also been completely unaware of ongoing abuse by ABA providers. Because I had worked for a good company, I only wish to advocate for autistic individuals.
The training for the company is ultimately the source. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like the training, yeah. So if you have no training, like if your training is non-existent, like there was one we read before we said we need to react to these. Like I've been here for what I think they said 4 days or something like that, and then they threw me in on a case, and I've never worked in the field before. Like absolutely,
And they got physically injured.
Yes,
because,
and so that's going to lead to abuse and unethical services, and may not be intentional, right? But by design, the fact that there is no training, it is going to lead to that inevitable outcome.
Or not adequate training and supervision.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so because I had worked for a good company, I only wish to advocate for autistic individually.
The population who we provide services for, we are their advocates.
Yes.
That is our job, is to
Yes.
look at their best interest.
Yes.
And we want them to be safe. And we want to help teach them the skills that they need to have a better quality of life.
Yes.
So, absolutely. Training is so
Okay.
important. And that's part of this growth of a new company, growth of an existing company.
Yes.
I don't care where you're at in your journey of your company, but training your staff and providing ongoing training
Yes.
and supervision is like crucial. Like
Yes.
you can't continue.
Yes,
without
and so
that.
like that's where the onboarding process comes on. Okay, so so I mean there's a lot of moving pieces here, but like who are the clients that we can ethically work with? That's the first thing that needs to be understood, right? Because if you're taking on cases that maybe you don't have the skill set for, And then obviously if you're not trained, then how are your staff trained, right? So there's that piece of it. So knowing the clients that you can work with is super important. Knowing your values and how you're going to respond to those clients that you cannot work with because you don't have the skill set. Are you going to refer them out, or how's that? Are you going to bring in some experts? I don't know how that works. And then having an onboarding that will allow your techs to work independently after the training is over is super important with the clients that you currently work with.
And by independently, that still means with ongoing training and supervision.
Of course. But like independently, where they can do the amount of direct service with the appropriate level of supervision based on the client and staff members' skill sets.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Next.
I appreciate you advocating for autistic individuals.
All right. Oh, whew. Just need a minute here. These are getting... Woof. Okay. I'm also an RBT. I don't abuse my clients either, but I do feel like the ABA company I work for only cares about the money. Like, my stomach feels queasy. I love making a difference, but it's easy to get burnt out. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. Sometimes we don't feel supported. I guess it depends on the company. Yeah. See, these, I feel sad when I read these.
Yeah, I guess like this is just going back to RBTs and saying you have to advocate for yourself and your clients. It is part of the ethics. Like if you are recognizing you're getting burnt out, then you are not going to be effectively helping your clients either, right? You may have family, right? You may have your own kids at home. You may have your husband or wife at home that you may have mom and dad that you need to take care of, right? Like there's like, so if you're burnt out, this is not good. So advocating for yourself and your clients. And again, when you're doing the interview process, okay, what happens if I get burnt out? Like, what do we do in that situation?
Or who can I go to if I start to feel like I'm getting burnt out? Like, because you want to, the optimal work environment is one in which that's going to support you and help you to even identify
what burnout is.
What those like precursor behaviors are to burnout, like what starts to happen first, to lead to that burnout, because we want to help support you before you get to that point. And as an individual, as a person, on your own responsibility is to, whether that's coaching or therapy or, reading books or listening to podcasts, like really starting to learn about burnout yourself and like, what can I do? How do I start to recognize those early burnout signs, and what do I do to not get to that place?
And again, if you're in this field for the long haul as an RBT, your plan is to become a BCBA. You love this field, it sounds like, right? Then I would, again, like step up and say, look, because I can guarantee if you're feeling burnt out, there are other RBTs. They may not be saying it, but there are going to be other BTs in that company that are also burnt out. So, like, one of the things that we did was we created a BT roundtable for our company where they could vent and figure out solutions amongst themselves, and if there were if there were issues that came from those roundtables, they would be anonymously given to directors or supervisors to hopefully alleviate those issues or remove those barriers. So, because if you're doing good, our clients are doing good, and that has to be the way that we look at this. So, good luck.
Big hug to you. Okay, maybe we have time for one or two more. I'm getting hot. All right, so Not the good kind.
Not the good kind.
Hi. So I switched to my current company back in November after leaving an awful company, and this one feels like it may be awful too. I am working 35 to 40, 97155. So 97155 is
super, like protocol modification. And then 5-6 is parent training. Family guidance.
Family guidance. Mm-hmm. So just for those who might not know the codes. Yes. So they're working. So I'm assuming this is a BCBA. I'm assuming it's a BCBA.
It has to be.
Working.
Well, it should be a BCBA.
It should be. So that's a BCBA code. Yes. Anyway, so they're working 35 to 40
billable
hours. But now I could only get 8 hours, including drive time.
Oh, so it dropped?
But I was already feeling burnt out because it's a lot. So I drive 1 hour in one direction. Okay. So 1 hour in one direction for a couple clients, and then 1 hour in the other direction. So if I have to see those two areas, 2 hours are already gone. Girl, person, I don't know who you are. I feel you. Okay. Or if I'm able to get 35 billables, will I be able to get 5 hours of indirect because I need 40 hours worth of pay? She said she can't afford it, and no other companies do that. So it sounds like they're doing a lot of drive time. And so that is lowering how many billables they're able to reach to, but they're not paying for drive time is what I'm hearing here. And then this company is strict on RBT supervision. Okay, so I can't go. They're strict so I can't go over 5% supervision. And I have to share RBTs with other BCBAs, so I'm barely supervising. So here's the piece right here where sometimes this is, those of you who are techs, this is the piece sometimes that it does stand in your BCBA. It's not always that your BCBA is not willingly provide supervision. Sometimes there's things behind the scenes that you're not aware of.
Again, if you're not receiving the support, I can almost guarantee the BCBAs that are also working in that company do not feel supported. Yes.
So they're in Florida. Okay. So I, at one point when we had first moved to Northern Virginia, I was in a situation, now I was a tech or whatever, but I was in a situation where I was driving more, and there was a lot of like court order kind of services, and so a lot of times we would show up and like they wouldn't even be there. A lot of refusals and things like that. So sometimes I would spend an 8-hour day driving around and knocking on doors and sitting in parking lots and not getting paid for it. But I think I was also considered a 1099 at the time. This was like 15 years ago. Maybe even longer than 15 years ago. It was probably even like a long time ago. Anyways, but because of that experience, when we started ours, that was a big important thing. For me as a clinician, that we group people, like group clients together as much as possible. Now, we still had some BCBAs who at times would have to drive longer than I really wanted them to have to drive because there was a client that we needed to support. Sure. But we paid them for that. So they were under salary.
Number one, you're supposed to get paid for drive time. Job site to job site, look it up. You're supposed to get paid for drive time. Now, if you're working 35 to 40 billable hours a week, that is insane. That's ridiculous. Like with our salaried BCBAs, we were looking at 20 billable hours is what we were hoping for.
That was even a lot.
Yes.
There were struggles there.
So getting twice that with one person. You want to come work for us? Then the other thing is that if you're getting 40 billable hours a week, man, that's you're awesome. Plus you're working, driving 2 hours a day. So you're getting overtime now, right? So, and if they say, well, we don't pay for drive time and you don't have a drive time rate because they are legally required to pay you drive time, then you should be getting your billable hourly rate for your drive time unless they explicitly state they have a drive time rate. So that means you should be getting time and a half for those 10 hours plus anything over 40 for that week. You should be getting time and a half at your billable hourly rate unless they have explicitly stated non-billable hourly rates. So they do. I see that there is 7 hours indirect. So maybe you have an indirect hourly rate. So then they would average those out, and then they would pay you time and a half for that time.
But 35 to 40 billable hours a week?
Yeah.
That would be like
ridiculous.
80 working hours.
It's ridiculous.
Like that.
Yes, because that's billable hours. So, or they're telling him or her, that for billing for things that they shouldn't be billing for. Right, that's the other issue. Or what exactly are they telling you to bill for? Because there may be unbillable things that you're billing for. So
all right, so
there's a lot. There's a lot.
Person here said, "Am I wrong, or is it insane?"
No,
you are
insane.
not wrong. You are insane. All right, next.
No, you
are not insane.
Not insane. Yeah.
Sorry if I said that wrong. You are not wrong. And you are not insane. Craziness.
Yeah, if you are, I don't even know the dates on these things, right? We've obviously taken the names off, even the anonymous names. So if this is like recent and you actually randomly come across our podcast,
reach out.
I will find you a better company. So just reach out. I will find you a great company to work for that you don't have to do. I will say
that to everybody. Right. If you feel like we work with some amazing companies who are like, we need techs, we need BCBAs, people who have like such an amazing system or set, and they're just ready to welcome some amazing people in their team. So reach out to us. We'll help you.
Absolutely.
Okay, next one. Okay, probably last one.
All right.
I don't even want to read this. Okay. My boss lied to me and ignores my communication after. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. If you followed up on my last post, I don't know what the last post was. Mm-hmm. You'd see that I had mentioned that my company often accepts families for assessments, but will indirectly lie to them and tell them that they are going to be staffed soon. Yeah. Once we find a therapist.
I mean, technically, that's not a lie.
It's not a lie. Define soon.
And they are letting them know that once they find
that they don't have a therapist on, but maybe they're like saying it might be a couple weeks, but really it might be 6 months. I mean, we don't know all the details.
It's starting off a little fishy. I'm just saying that it may not be necessarily a lie.
Okay. They constantly accept new families, but provide very little services, which often leads to the child waiting or having a very poor quality of service. This often frustrates the parents.
As it should.
As they are waiting long times and are almost desperate to start. Yeah, that's a really tough spot to be in. My boss simply just politely tells them, we are looking and we'll do our best to find you someone soon. And I mean,
that is a part of being trying to hire people.
Yeah. But they never follow up on this, and the families end up waiting months, almost a year, because they don't know any better or going elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, I hear that the plot is about to thicken. Mm-hmm. But for those leaders out there, I mean, we're doing our best a lot of times, but it is important to communicate with families. And when we had families, at least I hope we did as good as I feel like we did on this. But we really tried to communicate and say, hey, we're really struggling finding a tech, or the tech that we just hired didn't show up, and so we're back to square one trying to hire somebody else.
Here's the other thing that we did, because I know we did this.
No, let me finish. We also said, please feel free to here's some other providers in the area. Don't wait for us. If you find somebody else that you can get services with sooner, go for it.
Yes, and we talked to some really good providers in our area, and we would share our wait list. As long as obviously this is HIPAA, PHI, but we would say, hey, we've got a family this time of day, this insurance, can you work with them? And then we would see if we could set that up. So wait lists are a common issue in this field, because there's just not enough techs or BCBAs, or behavior analysts. I guess I should be saying BC. I'm not allowed to say that. And anyways, so that is an issue. But a year on a wait list, there should be some kind of external referral process.
Okay, so here's where the plot thickens.
Yes.
I don't want to hear it. There is never a mention of a wait list, neither to the BCBA staff nor the families. When I followed up about one case and why the child has been waiting 8 months without any therapist put on the case, he told me that he had spoken to the family and informed them of everything, but the family had called me and told me this was false. They never had gotten any communication from my boss or agency. I can't help but feel like this little fib or detail is a big red flag. Yeah, I would call it a red flag. I would want to investigate further and get curious about this, or either just go somewhere else. In addition to the other little red flags and fibs I've noticed, my boss also refuses to discuss this after I confronted them and will not reply to me. What would you do? I think transparency is very important, especially when your name is on all of the important documents.
Yeah. So again, we're advocating for these clients, especially if you've done an assessment for them. Again, this would be where I would come at it from, is a leadership standpoint, and say, there's no wait list. I'm going to create one. And at least for the families that I see, I have a running tally, right? Of, okay, I did this assessment on this day, and I know that there is no one in place. And then you can come with that data, right? You can say, look, I have done this, has to stop, right? We have to do this differently. Suggest ways that it can be done differently. But yeah, this, like, again, you are bound by your ethics, and if you are constantly doing assessments but you have no availability to do ongoing therapy, I'm pretty sure that's not allowed. So you have to let your boss know that I cannot maintain my license and continue doing this, because it only has teeth if the people that have the license or the certification or whatever it's called actually follow it. So that would be my recommendation. There isn't, like one of the posts said, is there like a petition that I can? No, it's your ethics. That's what you stand by. It's already written. There's no petition needed. You print out the ethics and say, this is a violation of my ethics. I cannot perform this task in this way. We need to do this differently. How are we going to do this differently? And if the answer is we're not going to do this differently, then you say, I can't do this ethically, and then they've made their answer. They're firing you because you cannot do this, right?
Or you're quitting.
Right. Yeah. Like, no, they are saying you have been terminated because you cannot perform your duties.
Yeah, I see what you mean there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's it. That's their decision. It's not your decision. Your decision is that I want to stay in this field. This is important to me. I must follow the ethics. And there may be a dispute between what does this part of the ethics mean, right? And we can have a dispute, and there can be a disagreement, and then you email the ethics hotline, right, and talk to Bailey and his team and come up with a solution. But there has to be a solution here, right? There has to be a way that this gets done without the red flags, without the ethics issues. Would you agree with that?
100%.
So yeah, I would urge you all to take the lead. You are, If you don't take it seriously, no one's going to take it seriously. So you have to push back against these. You have to advocate for yourself and the kids that you work with, that you work with. This is a really important job. And you guys are awesome and amazing, and there are too many companies that are pushing you to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. And again, we can look under the hood, right? And there may be a lot of moving parts. Rates are awful and horrible. You can't get qualified people on a timely basis, right? They think they're going to get somebody, but that person ghosts them too. Right? There are a lot of things that happen as owners as well, and I totally I've been there. That's why we're no longer owners. So, but there are ways that this can be done better. Again, we see it every day. We coach people through this, and so, but it's important that if you're not following your ethics, the only person that can stop that from happening is you. The board is not going to save you. No one's coming. No, I'm sorry. I wish. I don't. Actually, you have to get yourself into a better situation by advocating for yourself, for your staff, for your clients.
I have no other words to say.
All right.
Mic drop for you.
All right.
All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
And if you like this content,
let
like
us
and
know.
subscribe. And if we should do this more often, maybe we will.
Yeah, let us know if you like this. We'll do it more often. All right. Bye, everyone.